And we get here, and then we have our first full day here. And it was
Mm.
at the end of that first full day that I said, you know what? And I was telling Chief this the other day. There are very few moments in life where you realize that this thing is working out the way that you thought it was going to work out.
Oh, nice.
And this training has worked out that way. It's
Oh,
so, because that
that's
never happens.
That's so good.
It never
That's so
happens.
good.
But this training has been exactly what I needed and exactly what I thought it would be. And it's been wonderful because there are wonderful people here. You're in an amazing atmosphere. The teachings are so comprehensive and so wonderfully in depth. And it's, yeah.
All right. I'm glad we picked you. You were like, this is completely different than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, it's awesome. And it's funny, like I said, I thought it was going to be a certain way. And so I was telling my girlfriend all about it based on the,
Right.
before I left, like, I think this is the training for me. Here's what it's all about, blah, 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 blah. And she's like, you know what? Promise me one thing. Promise me you're not going to send a postcard saying you decided to stay and become a monk. All right. That's the one thing you have to promise me. So I made her that promise. So I got to go back.
That's great. That's great.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from beautiful Maharashtra at the Govardhan Eco Village, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily spiritual podcast with your host, Raghunath, today. Exclusively Raghunath. And it's interview day. And today our interview is Meet the Pilgrims, Harry Bowl. Welcome to the show. It's episode 1515. Today is January 12th, 2025. Still celebrating my birthday week. Woo! Yeah. I'm taking the whole week to celebrate 59 years old. Anyway, it's good to be here. Had a great day. What was today? It's a blur today, Mara. Oh, today's transition day. We got a whole new group showing up today for the Kirtan Academy with the harmonium. Mridanga school ends today, and the Wisdom of the Sages retreat starts today. Kostuba's been teaching our 200 and 300 hour, and they're in Kostuba bliss right now, like I always am. And then he stops today and he heads up. We shift gears and pivot into the wisdom training, the light on wisdom, we call it. So today we're going to interview people who are doing the training, find out their story. I've just talked to them about their experience. We're using them as our interviewees. And before I go there, I'm looking at Miss Mara to see if she has any announcements. Miss, we're going to dive right in. Oh, new class dropped on the Sage Community Platform. If you're a Sage Community Platform, member, thanks for everything. It's a community-supported podcast. That's how this thing keeps going. It's like a full-time job. It's turned into it. It just started expanding on us, but we love it. And so, yeah, so we live stream these classes. We record these classes, some classes, and we drop them on that Sage Community Platform if you're a Sage Community Platform member. And yeah, we try to give little extra perks. The podcast will always stay free. That's just how we're doing it. But if people want to contribute, it's more than welcome. Minimum of $5 and up to how much ever you want to give. Thank you very much. And we just dropped a what? A 10th and concluding class of the yoga teacher training dropped today. Kostuba wants me to say. Kostuba's here. I try to give this guy a vacation. He won't take it. He's going to be here watching the show. It's happening in his room. So yeah, all the people caught in here first, and people say, "What kind? Is this an empty room?" I was like, "No, it's Kostuba's. He keeps it very clean. You want to see a lived-in room? You come down the hall. I show you my room." Oh, like what happened here? Anyway, let's see. Let's start with Mr. Kevin. Kevin, come on down. Okay, so Kevin, we got a microphone. Woo! Hey, Kevin, how are you? You still got your T-lock in from sacred rituals today. We put on T-lock. How'd you do? Your first T-lock attempts?
I think it was pretty shaky, but learned a lot. Yeah, yeah. How's it look?
It looks pretty good,
Still there?
actually. Yeah, you know,
Yeah.
it does wear off over time, and to the degree that you touch your forehead, it comes off.
It felt nice though.
What's your story? You're from Connecticut, not far from Super Soul Farm.
Right.
How did you end up here?
You want the long version?
We don't have time for the long
No.
version, but we want the
Oh,
you know.
abbreviate it.
abbreviated, interesting version.
Okay. It would be music and drumming.
Music and
is-
drumming.
is
Okay.
my source.
And you heard about the Mridanga school.
Yes. So I went to Bhakti Yoga class up in Vermont, Burlington, Vermont.
Kishori Gopi.
Yes.
We love her.
Yes, and that was the first time I went to a kirtan. I saw she had a harmonium, and she went through her flow, and I had my mridanga with me just after a month
Wow.
I was going up to see the solar eclipse,
Oh, wow.
and she asked me to play with her, and that type of yoga just hit me amazingly, and I
Mm.
was following my drum around, doing whatever my drum called to do, and I
Mhm.
started playing kirtans when I got back.
I love how you're putting this. You're following your drum around. Your drum had a mind of its own.
Yeah, yeah.
They say that the Mridanga drum is Lord Balaram.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, there's some
Yeah.
there's truth behind what you're saying.
And one thing she told me, because once I picked it up, I just felt like I always knew how to play it.
Wow.
And she said, "You probably did this in a past life," and so that really hit me pretty. It felt right.
Mm.
And when I got back to Connecticut, I started playing kirtans with a woman named Shakti Ma and the Rainbow Serpents.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
And so you're doing kirtan now on a regular basis? Rainbow Serpents?
that's the name of our band, Rainbow Serpents.
Is that Kastupa? No one can hear you on the podcast. Kastupa's mocking me from the bleachers today, right? I'm trying to see when you're not here, Kastuba. That's when you get a more balanced, grounded Raghunath. Because you are so grounded, I gotta mix it up a little, keep it alive. So great. So you heard about the training, and so anyway, tell me what it's like being here, and what were you expect? Is it what you expected? Is it different? Have you, things coming up for you? Sometimes people come to these places, a lot of stuff comes to the surface. It's like when you make ghee, you put on the heat of the butter, and all of a sudden the impurities come to the surface. Are you going through anything? Is stuff coming up? What's going on?
All of the above. I didn't prepare knowledgeable wise of like what this place actually was.
Okay.
I wanted to do a yoga teacher and study Mridanga. So when I talked to Cindy, she's like, you can definitely fit in some Mridanga lessons when you get your yoga teacher
Oh,
training.
so you didn't even come for the Mridanga school that we offer. You came for a Bhakti
Yes.
Yoga training,
Yes.
which really features harmonium. We teach harmonium
Yeah,
as
yeah.
well.
But I knew I could fit both.
But you're moonlighting a little
Yeah.
and doing private Mridanga lessons
Exactly.
with Lala.
And I think that's what came up for me too.
Yeah.
When I got here, like the intensity of my kind of like previous limited beliefs of like what I can possibly do. And so when I got here and I started realizing like the amount of information that a yoga teacher training actually is, and wanting to fit in Mridanga, so it took a couple days to reorganize my belief system of like what I'm actually capable of doing and kind of stretch that. And that was exhausting in a way, but I think not only the philosophy class helped expand my expansion of my own reality, and all the great teachers and support like really just like was like, you can do
Sure.
this, you know.
You know, we had a sweet conversation over lunch. I'm glad we talked. And you were giving great appreciation for Kastuba's philosophy class.
Yes. Yeah.
And it was like you have this smile on your face. You're like, in this practice, the means is the end. Do you understand? We're actually doing what we do in the spiritual world.
Yeah.
And I felt like you were almost like preaching to me. And I was like, yeah. But it's so true in the yoga
Yeah.
system. And you were mentioning this very interesting thing. You said you use like plant medicines
Yeah.
and hallucinogenics for spiritual purposes. But you said something very significant that it really caught me. It was like, you know, even when doing them, I feel like I was going out to get the realization
Mhm.
instead of going in. You want to explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, so I think that sensation you feel of being with God in those moments of psychedelics and the profound wisdom you get.
Mm.
But then there's also the pendulum swing of when you're not on psychedelics and how to integrate that.
Mm.
And I've worked with integration and the process of integration.
Mm.
And what has helped me the most in integration is yoga and meditation and Vedic philosophy and Vedic astrology.
Sure.
So for me, the natural evolution of that was like, okay, what if I start taking out different plant medicines and concentrate more on the physical practices and philosophy to same thing. I'm experimenting.
Metaphysical
Yeah,
practices. Yeah.
yeah, and I'm experimenting with my own existence here. And
Interesting.
same thing with experimenting with psychedelics and getting to the point where like, okay, what else can I do, and and how better can I integrate my life with my spirit,
Mm.
and make that.
And then we were just having this appreciation, like all you got to do to be in the spiritual world is continue on a bhakti practice. And then you're actually in the spiritual world, and we're getting a glimpse of it.
Yeah.
You said it today, like we're getting a glimpse of being in the spiritual world just by our practice, because it's the practice of being in the spiritual world. And the only thing that's keeping me from being 24/7 in the spiritual world is my silly attachments
Right.
to the things of this world, including my body and my mind.
Right. Yeah.
It really is. And
Yeah.
I think that's sort of like the truth. Once people dive into this, they'll realize actually everything we're doing, this company that we're keeping with each other,
Yeah.
our conversations, our joy. There's so much joy going on in this training right now, you
Yeah.
know, and I've seen in my own life, even as a teacher in this training, it's like I do get tripped up by my own anxiety, shortcomings. Sometimes a curveball comes and you get sick, and then you're like, oh, my body, and then you're really attached to your body.
Yeah.
But you could just, I love that realization. It's so profound, and it's worth saying again and again.
Yeah.
We're actually already in it.
It's so when it's so simple, when you live in a complicated existence as the United States and the material world we can make things so complicated.
Oh, it's complicated.
And create complications on top of complications. Then you come here and adjust to like, I remember I asked someone yesterday, I was like, wait, it's just the one mantra? Like the beads, you just do one mantra.
You try to keep it simple. It's Kali Yuga. Let's keep this simple.
Just the one. Your whole life. So that was really funny to like, and she's like, yeah, it's simple.
It's
not
say you
complicated.
don't have to go wide. You go deep.
Yeah. I like that.
Anyway, I love you. I love your realizations. And
Thank
it's
you.
really a pleasure
Yeah.
to have you. And I'm hoping we can connect more when we get back.
Yeah.
We're pretty close to each other.
Absolutely.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Bring your drum.
It goes everywhere.
Haribo.
Haribo.
Let's
Thank
big
you.
Haribo for Kevin. Come on down, Brendan. Brendan, come on. Here's another lovely gentleman.
All righty.
Haribo.
Hi, Prabhu. How are you?
Great. You've been a pleasure, Prabhu. Why don't you introduce yourself, tell your story, and how you ended up showing up here?
Sure thing. My name is Brendan Jackson. I live in Amsterdam now,
All right.
but from Washington, D.C. Moved to Amsterdam 2.5 years ago
Okay.
because my girlfriend got a job, so I go everywhere with her.
All right.
How I got here is kind of interesting. I've been doing yoga a very, very long time. I mean, I
Okay.
started doing yoga, to reveal my age, 25 years ago.
All right.
But didn't really develop like a serious
Corporate life. That's good.
Yeah. And then when I shifted, when I went to Amsterdam, and I won't go into the whole story, but I found myself in a position where I couldn't work for the company that I was working for in DC. The plan was I would keep working for them, but
Yeah.
through a weird series of events, that was no longer a possibility.
All right.
So I found myself in a place in Amsterdam where it was like, okay, well, what do I do now? So there were two ideas that popped in my head. One idea was, well, I came out of the architecture industry. I've been a photographer for a very long time too. So let's start an architectural photography business. So that was something I launched recently, but that can be kind of up and down. That can be kind of fickle.
Sure.
And so I started thinking, well, what can I supplement that with? And yeah, yoga made so much sense because I've been doing it for so long and I've been on this spiritual path in addition to yoga for a long time. Yes, yoga is a spiritual path, but I've supplemented asanas with hopefully a more holistic approach.
Well, if you're like a nurturer type of person, yoga is such a great job.
Yeah.
Like I love it.
Yeah.
Because I like people. I like to help people with things, stuff like that.
Yeah.
If that's your thing,
yeah,
you got the perfect. You'll always be happy. You'll love what you do.
It's great to serve.
Yeah.
It is. And so as I was, exploring and doing research on different teacher training programs, I struggled to find something that really resonated with me. And then, I listened to your podcast and you made a reference on a podcast.
You listened to the podcast?
Yeah, I listened.
Well, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
How did you get into the podcast?
I got into the podcast because I saw you on another podcast.
What
Oh, wow.
podcast?
I'm trying to think. It might have been Joe Rogan. I'm not like an old Joe Rogan. It came up in like my YouTube feed. Like it said something about Bhagavad-gītā, which I had read already at that point.
Joe Rogan one.
Yeah. And you were on it. And I was like, oh, okay. This guy looks familiar. Where do I know this guy from?
Were you a hardcore?
I'm from DC, man.
Okay. Everybody's hardcore.
Bad Brains, Fugazi,
All right.
Henry Rollins, Minor Threat.
All right.
Yeah. All those guys. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
the puzzle of Brendan Shacks is all coming together at this point.
Yeah. So then I pieced it all together. And so I started listening to the podcast.
Oh, all right.
So yeah, anyway, so I heard about the program through the podcast, went to the website and was like, oh, this is like coming up. Am I going to get in? Emailed. And then Sita responded and was like, yeah, we got room. Come on, let's
All
go.
right.
Let's do it.
That's beautiful.
And I was just like, this is amazing. This is exactly what I've been looking for. This is that really holistic approach to yoga that I wasn't seeing anywhere else.
You know how like you sign up for something and you're like, yeah, I'm going to India next week, and you have an idea of what it's going to be like. Is it that, or is it something completely different?
So India, there's India and then there's the training.
Yeah, because
So
we are in a bubble
we are
of
in a bubble.
sanity and peace.
So, I get to India, I get to Mumbai first. And I had heard that Mumbai is like, it's called Maximum City, right?
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
I've
that's
never
the
heard that.
nickname. It's Maximum City.
It is. That's a great name.
And I landed and it's like, oh, okay. Now I really get, like, it's one thing to hear people call it Maximum City. It's another thing to actually experience it. And it's like, and I love big cities.
Yeah.
But Mumbai was like, okay, I need a moment to kind of digest all of this because this is a lot. This is a lot.
It's like,
But
they say it's like smoking 3.5 packs of cigarettes a day or something like that. Just living in the city, something ridiculous like that.
Yeah. But anyway, so I was there a few days. And I'm glad I saw it. But then it was funny, we're driving here. And as soon as we like get out of Mumbai, it's like my whole body just kind of went, yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. I could breathe.
Relax.
And we get here, and then we have our first full day here. And it was at the end of that first full day that I said, you know what? And I was telling Chief this the other day. There are very few moments in life where you realize that this thing is working out the way that you thought it was going to work out.
Oh, nice.
And this training has worked out that way.
Wow,
It's so, because that
that's
never happens.
That's so good.
It never
That's so
happens.
good.
This training has been exactly what I needed and exactly what I thought it would be. And it's been wonderful because there are wonderful people here. You're in an amazing atmosphere. The teachings are so comprehensive and so wonderfully in depth. And it's, yeah.
All right. I'm glad we picked you. You were like, this is completely different than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, it's awesome. And it's funny, like I said, I thought it was going to be a certain way. And so I was telling my girlfriend all about it based on the,
Right.
before I left, like, I think this is the training for me. Here's what it's all about, blah, 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 blah. And she's like, you know what? Promise me one thing. Promise me you're not going to send a postcard saying you decided to stay and become a monk. All right. That's the one thing you have to promise me. So I made her that promise. So I got to go back.
That's great. That's great. Hey, beautiful.
Yeah.
Got a favorite part, favorite twist to this? Well, I mean, there's so many different flavors of this training,
Yeah.
of this place.
Yeah.
Anything
Yeah.
that sticks out, you're like,
Yeah.
I'm really going to remember this.
Yeah.
Or a couple things.
I mean, it's all been really, really great. And like, not to brown nose or anything, but the session,
go.
the session you did
Go.
today about all the sort of, ritualistic components of it.
Oh, we
the
did,
ceremonies.
yeah, we
And
did
here's my
rituals.
really bad T-lock is still on, I think.
Yeah, it wasn't great.
It
but
wasn't great.
It was
No,
okay.
it was not
Mine's
great.
bad, and I've been doing
Not
it for 4
great.
years. But I taught them how to do it without the mirror.
Yeah, that was the
That
hard
is
part.
my gift
Yeah.
contribution.
Yeah.
It's never perfect, but no mirror required.
Yeah, no, that was wonderful. But everything's been great. So
Thanks, Prabhu.
yeah, thank you,
It was
Prabhu.
great. It was great. It's great having you. You're a bright light.
Oh, thank you,
Yeah.
sir. I appreciate that.
All right.
I
Have a
roll.
Did we find out if Laura was coming? Can you check? Thanks, Miss Mara. Yeah, truthfully, I didn't know what we were getting into with this teacher training group when they showed up. I was like, do these guys know anything about anything? Am I gonna I really thought I was like, I might be like, we're saying sometimes when you're giving bhakti, even in a teacher training, it's like when you give baby food to a baby, you have to like dance around. Okay, here comes a plane. Woo! Open your mouth. Woo! Here it comes. And then sometimes they get the food and they're like, and they spit it out. So you're trying to spoon feed bhakti to people, but and trying not to shove it down their throat. But at the same time, you got to give them something. And then it really depends on what they're going through, their minds, their health, how they feel. And sometimes people just aren't ready to, when we talk about bhakti, we're talking about real life things. We're talking about birth, disease, death, old age, what I actually am, what I'm not, my ego. And a lot of us, if we've been living in our ego and that is our identity, I'm this cool dude and I present myself like that. And all of a sudden we're saying, actually, that's not even you. You're going to have to sort of step away from that. And you're going to have to find your actual coolness in giving love and not being the center and serving the center. And sometimes it's super confrontational. And that's what I mean by the impurities coming up. And sometimes people stumble into it. No, higher power. No. No matter how logically you explain things to, sometimes people are not ready to hear the truth because it shakes up their world too much. And even if they're in pain, even if they're suffering, they'd still rather be suffering and stick their head in the sand. Come on down. Hello, my dear.
Hi.
Straight from New York City.
Ow!
You got to come close to, get in the picture here. Introduce yourself, where you're from, what you do.
Hi, I'm Jasanya. I'm a full-time yoga teacher and Pilates instructor in New York City. That's what I do.
And you had, and you had also a pretty interesting story too. You were like a child or teenage actress.
Yeah.
Then got in a car accident, bad car accident.
Well, so I think I think I have to go reverse with like this training first. I want to speak on is okay?
Yeah. Matter of fact, I was trying to see if any of that brought you to this, but maybe it was like your time.
I think it's a little bit reverse.
Okay.
Yeah. I feel through this training, as we keep learning and discovering and like I keep being kastubied
You got
in
this good today?
philosophy. Yeah, like I keep feeling like I'm leaving each session being like, oh yeah, I know that.
Right.
That makes sense. Like I didn't read the Bhagavad-gītā. Like we're definitely studying the text now. That book was on my shelf for years.
Sure, me too.
But I feel like I leave the session, I'm like, that's what I was doing at 21. Or that's what I was doing at 18. Or yesterday we had the Bhakti, what it's called? The Bhakti like recovery group session.
Right.
And I'm sitting in the session and Jiva went through the 12 steps of the Bhakti recovery group. And I'm like, I did this when I was 18. I was in a car accident. I like almost lost my life. I woke up in the hospital after like a day and a half unconscious and like serious brain injury. I was not okay. I mean, I would talk to people and I didn't know who I was talking to about what after. And I convinced everyone and myself I was okay. to like continue my acting and go to school. I was actress. I was like, yeah, I'm great. Like,
Just shake it off.
It was not okay. Relapsed, like serious brain injury. And I feel like in that moment was when I started to live the yoga. Like this was when I had to surrender. I mean, I really had no idea what was going on.
So you're saying when you went to the Bhakti recovery group, there's some remembrance of doing the 12 steps, or maybe not, was it called the 12 steps, or what you're just saying you went through these phases in life?
On my own.
Surrender, I'm not in control.
Mhm.
There's a higher power greater than me.
Yeah, like organic, surrender to it and just to trust.
Mm.
And I feel like since then, because it worked, you know, like
Mm.
I flowed, I mean, I heal.
Mm.
And I think that is just how I live my life, like to just live and surrender and to just receive and to allow things to come into my space and take it as it is and really try to live the yoga. Like in my classes, I try to give yoga as a lifestyle.
Mm.
And I feel, you know, then this specific training on its own, it really, you told me it's called the Krishna Miracle because a girlfriend of mine did this training the past year and I saw some photos and hear from her how it was. And then another person who did the training 7 years ago, I met backstage of like a concert and we're like, you know, Bhakti in the backstage talking and I start to become his and his wife's private Pilates instructor. And I tell him I want to do a 300 training in the Bhakti based space. And he says, I know the training for you. And it's the same one.
Miracle time.
Yeah. So then I come and
Backstage at a concert.
like, and I didn't even know who you were. I didn't know who any of you were. And then I just say, okay, like I'm going. They say it, I go. And then I get here and I'm like, wow, you break it down the way I need it broken down. I love to be kastubied. I love all the yoga teachers and the variety. Like it's just, I literally love every single second of it. So it's really crazy to, I think, live in flow and to trust the flow and to surrender to the higher power above us, God, Krishna, universe, whatever. It changes name as I get older, you know. I definitely used to be like, why the universe hates me right now, you know, or why I love God. You know, I went through these different names, but it didn't matter because it was still something else deciding for me and I was there for it.
Yeah, it's interesting. It's like as if you were directed.
1000%.
It's as if you were directed.
The whole time.
What are you jiving with the most while you're here?
Wow.
Besides the people are really special.
Yeah, the
The
people.
group we have this year is just really nice, and I'm really excited to meet the next busload that's pulling in a few hours. Half an hour.
I think for me, what I jive with the most is the Kirtan twice a day. I love to chant. I love to tap into my voice. I was like childhood pianist, so it's fun to play the harmonium
Oh, wow.
and like I'm telling you, it's wild. It's really crazy. All these things I've been doing my whole life have been setting me up for this moment, and I know it and I feel it in my heart. It's crazy, and there's something special. You said it, and I believe it because I feel it about dancing and singing.
There's something
You
magical
know,
about it.
it's you're
You just
so
sort of
high.
leave your mind behind.
And yeah,
And I was personally, I was really sort of struggling with this group at first because there was a hesitancy to sing and dance. I didn't want to be too pushy, but by day 3.5, I think we did that combined Kirtan with Radhika's group, and we went to the temple. We just sort of made a little party out of it, and Maharaj came, and I feel like everybody just stepped away from the material mind, any type of mental evaluations or worried about what people were thinking about me. And it just became like a party. And from then on, it's been like rolling a snowball down a hill. It's just getting bigger. And, guys, you guys are attentive. In the beginning, guys were a little sleepy, a little quiet. But after those 3.5 days, it just like everything sort of clicked.
After the jet lag fade out, I really like Krishna. I really like playfulness. I told you at lunch that I used to trip a lot of acid, and I
You're not tripping now, are you?
No. On Krishna, no.
Second.
But to be in this state on acid, like I used to scare my ex-boyfriend because I would say, I just want to live on acid. Like I could be like this all the time. It's amazing, you know? But I feel like when you sing and you dance
Right.
and you have the playfulness of Krishna, you're on this like trip, but it's just becoming your life. It's not
Sure.
like a space you tap in and out. You're there all the time.
Yeah, Prabhupada said, "Stay high forever." It's an incredible, great. It's a great slogan for the '60s, where people are just trying to, what is it, drop out and drop in, or something like that. Drop in and drop out. I can't remember what it was, but when everyone's like, yeah, how can I go externally to get high, to get that spiritual download? But
Mm.
we don't want it. We don't want to come down. We want to keep
Yeah.
our life should be high. Our life should be filled with joy. We shouldn't lament. We shouldn't live in anxiety. It doesn't seem like our soul's birthright to do that.
Yeah, and so it feels really like living in the truth
Yeah.
is to be this maximum playful, of course, ground, and of course, like float in and out of like other spaces, but
Right.
stay silly, stay playful, and like let Krishna be silly too. Like this the point.
Why not be slowly play? It's
Yeah.
interesting, when I first
Play with Krishna.
when I first came back from India, and I somehow was in the New York temple doing something, and they said, "Okay, we're gonna go out in the streets and chant." I was like, "Yeah, let's go out in the streets and chant." And we're like chanting and singing in so much joy on the streets of New York. And people are, it's New York. People are busy. They're walking by. They're doing it. But we're having a big stand-up kirtan like we were doing the other night in Govardhan. We're just like running back and forth. It's almost as if we're not in their city. We're in a spiritual bubble. And then one guy just comes up to me and just goes, "Why don't you get a job?" It was just like it was like a phrase. And I was just thinking, why would I ever get a job? Like, is there like some payoff, but in the same way, they say, like, maybe they feel like we're not contributing to society, but to see joy is it's the biggest contribution to society. To see how to be in this world and not of this world, what a great contribution to society. To be in a city that's grinding and exhausting, and to be joyful, what a great example. I was like so proud to be with all these people just singing and dancing, completely oblivious to public opinion, and that's sort of like where I feel like there's been a breakthrough with this group right now.
You
It's
can
just,
see it.
yeah, you can see it.
You can see it. You can feel it.
You can feel
You
it.
can feel more play. I really feel. Everybody get more silly. Everyone loosen up. Everyone's like, now we chant.
Yeah, it's and it's you guys. It's like we're taking a day off for some reason. We're taking a day off from our satsang tonight.
We can do it if you want.
But the thing is, people lament. They're like, we did it once before. We made it optional, and everyone came. It's just like there's a joy in it. There's a joy in coming together as a group, as a community, and singing and laughing, and it's a good. We got a good thing going.
Got a good thing going. Yeah.
Anyway, we're happy you're here.
Thank you. Come to my class in New York if you're in New York.
New Yorkers, we got New Yorkers.
My name is Jasanya.
Just Sonia, like Jess Anya.
Yes.
Jess Anya. Where do you teach?
Come flow. A lot of places.
Okay.
Look me up.
Name a couple.
Come. Sui, Daya in Sanskrit. Anyone? No?
Oh, yeah, merciful. Mercy.
Okay. I thought compassion, but
Same thing. Merciful.
okay.
Joy.
Yes. Yes. Hot 8.
Hot 8.
Real Hot Yoga Williamsburg.
All right.
And Vessel, all women's space.
Great.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
All right. Just Sonia, she's got a good attitude. We got a lot of good attitudes, and you know what? Good attitudes go a long way. I was hoping to get Laurel in here, but she's not feeling well today. But I partly she shared a birthday wish to me. I'm just going to share it because I don't think she'd mind. But she's suffering from stage 4 cancer. So there's a whole thing, Bobby's calling me, hey, a lady wants to come. She's got stage 4 cancer. And in my mind, I'm going to write to, I go, first my material thing, like, what does that mean? Am I going to have to, she's going to need a nurse? Can she walk? I'm trying to figure out where she's at. And, I can't remember if she said she was in a dark place, but at least when she came, she said, I've been in such a dark place. She's got a 5-year-old daughter. She's a single mom, connected with the husband, but sort of single. And so from the very first satsang, she just connected, and there was just like a hope in her eyes. And yesterday she played me the best compliment. I didn't take it personal. I have to pass it back to Vyasadeva because nothing I say is mine per se. But you know, we had like big birthday festivities yesterday, but she was so out of it. She just needs to take breaks sometimes because the pain or something, stuff she's got, or extra rest. But this morning she came up to me and she goes, with such a beaming light in her eyes, she goes, Raghunath, before I came here, I was learning how to die. And now you've taught me how to live. And she was so happy. And I feel like that's what this process is. It's a process of getting out of our mind. And not today, but another day I said to her, because she was also in a very glowing, high vibe state. She said, you know, this stuff makes so sense. It's actually like the food I need. It's exactly what I needed. I can't believe I've been driven here. I said, yeah, that's what this philosophy is. And I said, and if anyone is pitying you, you know, if anyone from this training is thinking, oh, poor Laurel, what she's going through, it's only because they're in so many layers of illusion to not understand that they're going through it too. They're all in a position of dying at any moment, but we're in so much illusion. We have this thing, I will live in this body forever. You won't. This is everyone's condition. And sometimes, if we're lucky, we get a wake-up call. The whole Bhagavad-gītā is about a king who got a wake-up call. He had 7 days to die. Most of us don't know. Sometimes we just get hit by a truck. An anvil falls on my head. Who knows how we die? You know what I mean? But sometimes we get a wake-up call like, hey, you got a serious illness you got to check in with. And then we start to think about life and the people in our life and who's going to be there when I'm not there. And how's the world going to go on? And what about all my things and stuff? And we start to think, what about, I had big plans. And everything goes to this one problem. All other problems melt. There's just one problem left. And the problem is my temporality. And that's when all this stuff becomes, it's actually worth millions. Sometimes you meet the guy in the street, say, hey, you want to buy a Bhagavad-gītā? How much is it? It's a donation. That book is worth millions of dollars because it actually solves the problems of material existence. Why? Because it gets you out of your body, out of your mind, and into your identity. That's the most valuable thing you can offer somebody. And I saw it in her eyes. I saw this woman has transformed. I almost got faith. Like, it was one of those things where, like, I appreciate what we're doing. I actually have new appreciation for what we're doing because she came in such a dark place, and to see the light in her eyes is such a glorious thing now. And it will be tested in my own existence. You know, when I go through, you know, we get dealt these, like, a bad set of cards, a bad hand. I'm like, how am I going to be attached to, you know, Ray Capo, Raghunath, my stuff, even my family, even my beloved family? Or am I going to understand, like, nope, this is all truth. I own nothing. I'm not born to collect anything. I am born to give love, and I'm just passing through this frame. Even this body is not me. That's a very powerful reality. I can talk it. I can write a song about it. But to really get that, if you really get it, you're a liberated soul, you know? Okay. Come on down, Mikey Goldberg. Come on down. All right, Bull. Mikey Goldberg, he is another example of great attitude. We got a lot of guys on this training, don't we? It's a heavy training.
We got a good mix.
We got a good mix. Okay. How are you, Mikey?
I'm doing great.
Now, I remember we had a phone call. You called me up and we talked about life and before the training. We never met, I don't think.
Mm-mm.
What was that phone call about?
Well, I've been seeking for a while. Should I just start? I can kind of.
You could just say whatever you want. I
Yeah.
just remember talking on the phone to you. But now that I'm with him and know him, it's like a whole nother person. Then the guy 3 months before the training.
Yeah.
So yeah,
and
share your story.
I'm
or-
so grateful for those conversations
Oh.
because they really helped me just feel more comfortable coming here. And but I was kind of in a bad place in college for the most part, and that was like 5-6 years ago. Heavy weed smoker, depressed, wasn't very social.
What about when people
And-
say, wait, I'm going to jump in for a second. One second. What about when people say weed is great? It's the best thing you could do. What is wrong? A lot of people like love weed. What are the downsides of weed in your eyes?
Yeah,
I never really got into it. I sort of
it just
missed,
like
I missed weed.
it killed my drive.
It killed your drive.
Like
Okay.
it made me lazy.
Okay.
It made me anxious and paranoid.
Yeah.
It was fun for a time, but as I kept going and smoking more, it kept me like away from the things that I enjoyed and kept me inside and
Sure.
was not really a
Okay.
fun time. And it's funny because like going through Kastuba's class and talking about like rewiring our minds, once I kind of was at like this low place and was like, okay, things have to change. It's like you start reprogramming your mind to do the things that are going to benefit you and learning how to live a positive, happy life, just like changing the food that goes into my body, changing the sounds that go into my ears and the people that I associate with. And it was a slow, gradual process. And by the time I was out of college, I was a completely different person. And I entered corporate world, and
You had an interesting job. You worked like a minor
yeah, it
league
was a
baseball team or something?
independent league baseball team.
Okay.
But after 2 seasons, I was a account executive, so cold calls, cold emails, attached to a desk all day, and then working long hours during the baseball season.
I pictured you as a bat boy running around the field. And
No, that would have been
everyone picking you up, putting them on their
that would have been a lot more glorious.
That would have been a little glory. Okay.
But we did have a dancing bat boy, but I did not participate in that. We did Sweet Caroline karaoke on the field after our
Okay.
games on Saturdays.
That's as crazy
But
as it got. Okay.
yeah, that was
All right, so
my
corporate-
stardom.
Corporate life was not super sweet.
Yeah, it didn't take me long to realize that I didn't really fit there and that I didn't want to be attached to a desk my whole life
Okay.
and work a normal 9 to 5. And I kind of realized that summer of 2023. And from that point on, I was just seeking and trying to figure out what my life would actually look like.
Sure.
And I was living in Hoboken at the time and started going to this yoga studio called Urban Souls, and they do sound baths there.
Oh, wow.
Some incredible teachers. And the first sound bath that I did, I had this incredible journey where I had received a ton of just messages of things that I had been thinking about for months, that I wanted to leave my job, leave the city, travel, and be of more service.
Wow. That's some sound bath.
Yeah, well, there was actually it was a shamanic journey.
Okay.
And so it was a guided meditation into my sacred garden, where we called for our spirit guide to give us an answer to a question that we had. And it was actually like a little sage monkey that came to me. And like during this trip,
Was it me?
not, but during this trip, yeah, I've kind of,
Sage monkey.
yeah, I've kind of
Brahmachari.
connected that while I've been here. And I felt even more connected to that like vision in my heart, like coming here and hearing the stories of Hanuman and seeing the deities and so much lore in his story. And I like feel so connected to that
Were you
that
listening?
character.
Were you listening to Wisdom of the Sages at that point?
No, so that was in November of 2023, and then was still seeking on how I was going to integrate that into my life. And it was in April I heard you on the Rich Roll podcast.
Oh, wow.
And you were talking about bhakti, the essence, your journey, how you lead pilgrimages and retreats to India every year. And as soon as I heard it, I was like, this is exactly what I've been looking for.
Oh, wow.
And I immediately read Punk to Monk after that,
Oh,
and
wow.
then immediately
So you
read.
didn't even read Journey Home.
No, I read Journey Home right after Punk to Monk,
All right.
and it was just so inspiring
Oh.
and transformative.
Double it.
Yeah. But now I started. I've been recommending it to everyone. But as soon as I finished Journey Home, I've been listening to Wisdom of the Sages every day since
Oh, wow.
about June.
And then we talked on the phone.
Yeah, because I'm unemployed right now, and I'm kind of taking this year to figure out what's next for me, and
Great.
traveling, and I'm going on the Mayapur retreat after this.
That's great.
And then I don't have a return flight, so I'm trying to figure out what is next, and
So
if I want to
cool.
travel around India.
So
And
cool. You know, I will say that when you're like deciding, even if you're deciding on a wife or any big decision, a career, a home, when your consciousness is very high, you can make much clearer decisions. If you're in low consciousness, of course, like if I'm a regular pot smoker and heavy drinker, and I meet some girl in a bar, why not her, right? But if I'm in a very high consciousness and I see some girl in the bar, I'm not going to think of dating her. I might think helping her, assisting her. So the best thing you can do for your consciousness, for your choices when you come to these forks in the road, is to really work really high on yourself, and then your choices become so much easier. Like no, I don't want to live where there's no people practicing spirituality in my tribe. I don't want to be with a person who is very low vibe or is addicted to something or is, I want to be with a person who's going to lift me higher as well.
yeah,
So
and that's what's been like flowing into my life as I've raised my vibration and have been trying to associate with more like-minded individuals. And that was my like one of the biggest factors in coming here was just to be in more association and make friends and be taught by incredible and experienced teachers.
What are you liking most or top?
I have to agree with Jasanya. I mean, the satsangs they're so nourishing. The stories, the
Bhagavad-gītā.
philosophy, applying it to today's world. That's like the best part about what you guys do is taking sacred philosophy and applying it to today's society.
It's tricky.
and-
It's sometimes not a perfect puzzle piece fit because they did things differently, and the society was set up differently, and they had different flavors of Maya 4,000 years ago than they do today.
Yeah, but you guys make it just so relatable, and you guys are personable, and it's like changed my life in so many ways. And just like listening to the podcast every day, it's so impactful, and it's my brain just continues being rewired. And even like after listening to the podcast for 6 months and then coming here and hearing like you talk during the satsang and Kastuba's philosophy class, just learning more than I even thought I could take in here, and building like that foundation of like where it all comes from.
I mean, I give a class. These guys are like taking notes on everything.
Yeah, I'm a notorious
That's great.
prolific note taker.
It's beautiful, and it sticks when you do it too, or at least you're holding it there for some time to reflect upon.
Yeah,
Anyway,
because the days are long,
Yeah,
and it's definitely an intense training. I've never sat on my butt for so long, and I've kind of moved to the chair at this point in the
Yeah.
training.
yes,
my-
you're welcome to the chair crew.
Yeah, 25 years old, and my knees are giving out.
Yeah.
But well, we're just listening to the body right now and
You're
trying to
25
get
years
through it.
old? It's, I tell you, it's a great time to sort of just say, okay, this is where I was going. I'm pulling over and I'm going to check the map and make sure I've been heading in the right direction.
Yeah.
And it just sounds like you're doing this at the right time of life. You're in great company. The students are all great. And Bhakti seems to resonate with you. You got such a good attitude too. You make it, people like you. I feel like attitude is everything in the whole world, but especially in Bhakti too, because you come in with a bad attitude or if you bring a lot of bad habits, criticism, fault finding, complaining, if you bring that, and that's been your habit for 25 years, and you bring that into a sacred circle, it just becomes super unsavory. But you got such a lightness about you too. I really appreciate having you here.
Yeah, it's been such a it's been amazing cultivating it, and I couldn't have done it without your guys' influence and inspiration.
Did you get to talk to Radha Swami at all?
We had a nice interaction on our day off.
Nice. What did
Yeah.
he do?
Well, there's they have in the spiritual paradise, they have the rain collection ponds.
Yeah, it's like a rain harvesting. What do they call it?
Yeah, it's a pond.
It's a reservoir. It's a reservoir, rain collection, and when
Yeah.
monsoon comes, that thing fills, and they use it to irrigate everything throughout the year. Otherwise, it hits the desert and it just goes off into nowhere lands. And now it recharges the soil, and it's powerful. And so you ran into him there.
Yeah, I was walking chanting japa in the morning, and he was out there also, and he sat down on the track, and I paid my obeisances, and he like called me over, and I sat next to him,
That's
and
sweet.
yeah,
That's sweet.
gave me a few nuggets of wisdom.
Really?
And,
Like
yeah.
what? Did you write it down?
Yeah, he was just saying I was expressing my gratitude and appreciation and how much he inspired me in coming to this path
Hmm.
and coming here, and how like at home I feel in this at the Eco Village. And he said that our true nature is to be loved and to receive love from source and from devotees. And it's so simple, but it's so true. And like just to be reminded that from such a powerful but so powerful but yet so soft.
He's got that beautiful balance between being like, he's opened a hospital, opened a temple in Mumbai. Who can understand what it's like to open anything in Mumbai? It's like overwhelming. It's a big thrive, not just a temple. It's a massive community around that temple, and then there's the hospital. Then there's the Govardhan Eco Village, and it just keeps on expanding. Then all the people he touches throughout the world. It's just about one person with a vision. And, we meet people in the material world who have a vision to start a company or a factory or a corporation, and they employ so many people, they help so many people. But imagine when that laser focus is just on connection, and you already have that karma / blessings to just expand like that. I mean, you're a good karma guy. I think you've got some good karma, and you're focusing good karma on farm league baseball.
Not anymore.
Yeah, but you were. Now imagine if you just like pivot, and now it's on your spiritual life, your spiritual resurrection of consciousness.
Yeah.
And everybody around you is going to have it's going to have such an effect on everybody that loves you, everybody you come in contact with. And if you just think of all the things you could feasibly do in this world, it's like you have a beautiful blank canvas to change the hearts and lives of so many people.
Yeah, and that's something I'm really passionate about, is kind of trying to raise the collective consciousness of society.
You can do it, and you will do it.
I appreciate that.
All right. Thank you very much, Mikey Goldberg. Boom. That was Hare Krishna. These guys are good, Kastuba, huh? Hi, Mara. How about you, Mara? How are you? You want to share anything about this training before we sign? It's time already, but I want you to share something. I'm going to make you share something.
I'm just
First of all, get your little mug on the camera.
I was just trying to cue up the closing music, but
okay.
But I'm always happy to be here back at Govardhan Eco Village. It's like, I've been coming here probably for a lot of years now and watching it grow, but it's like, even with all the growth, it just like still feels like home every time we come back here, And
very good.
yeah.
Yeah.
And it's like always an incredible group of people here, but I love these YTTs especially.
Me too, because you get to just live here for a while and you get into a groove, and we're just hitting the halfway point.
Yeah, it's weird the way time flows here, where it's like, like
After day one, I was like, we've been here for a year.
yeah, you're like, I've been here for 6
'Cause
months,
I
I
don't know what
think.
it is. You're
Like, I've known
taking
you
in
guys
so much
forever.
information. I don't know. I can't figure out how that works.
Yeah.
Anyway, thanks everybody for joining us. That's the show today. Meet the Pilgrims, we call it. And we should do this again because that's some good pilgrims.
And
Thanks,
it's the
everybody, for
people in
joining
Kirtan
us.
Academy who-
And the Kirtan Academy people are all on the magic bus. See you soon. And breakouts. Good morning. Neil from Memphis. Good morning. Miguel, Harry Ball, and the Cruz family.
Was Miguel coming?
Miguel's coming here.
Okay, great. Mayapur.
Mayapur. Hey, if you're coming to Mayapur, we're trying to scramble for some spaces. Sunny the cat.
Maybe she.
Anyway, love you guys. Thanks for tuning in on Zoom. And if you're interested in Mayapur, you've got to get to us super quick. Trying to find rooms. Really looking forward to that as well.